And we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Father Joseph Swaden. We're here in the afternoon, rare time frame for us to work with, but today we decided to go with that. I have with me Sava and Thaddeus. Many of you have heard Sava before on our program. Usually in the live Q&As. Thaddeus is actually, introduce yourselves, fellas.
Hello, this is Thaddeus, Louisiana native. We're out here with St. Peter the Aleut Church in Avita Springs, North Shore of New Orleans.
Cool. I've got a map up, and Sava?
Oh, yes, we're both readers. Forgot to mention that part, but we're both readers in the ROAC, and we're here to talk about our journey since people are apparently interested in it.
Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned it, and there are people who have been talking about it, and it's actually kind of not a common thing. You may have noticed I've referred to it as a pilgrimage. I know you guys have shied away from that term, but for all intents and purposes, that's precisely what it was. Even though I think you guys originally described it as a road trip. But how long were you traveling?
Well, we were supposed to do 2 weeks, and we were supposed to get back today, this Tuesday, but we got back, basically Sunday. It was midnight Saturday, so we were on the road for 12 days.
Okay, wow. All right, and let's see here. And let's see. So we're getting started here, and we're kind of in the north part of Louisiana here. So Avita Springs is here, and all right, and you guys were in this Covington area. Okay, so where did you go first?
Well, from the first day, we were just trying to get to New Jersey as fast as possible. There wasn't much to do, so we just drove down I-10 there. It's a big interstate.
Where's I-10? Hold on.
It's the interstate right there below Covington and whatnot, or I-12. My bad.
I-12. Okay, so it turns into I-10. Okay, so we're going on I-10, and so what happens?
We were just driving, going all the way down to Mobile. Then from Mobile, we started going up towards Montgomery, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham. The first day was mostly just driving. We drove all the way to from there up to where did we go to? Georgia, or which state did we go through? I don't even remember. We went through either Tennessee. We went through Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee.
Okay.
We drove through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, going towards Florida.
Any stops on the way there, or well, I mean, not counting like rest stops or anything.
Oh, we're just getting gas. So we didn't really make any important stops the first day. Well, we did go to Knoxville, Tennessee. We stopped there, and Thaddeus can tell that story.
Yeah, what happened in Knoxville?
Well, Sava said he's never eaten a good burger before, so I looked up a good burger shop, and it was right off the interstate, it looked like, in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it brought us to the Women's Suffrage Centennial Park in downtown Knoxville.
Hold on.
And it turns out that the streets were renamed Gay Street. So it wasn't really our natural habitat. We kind of but the burger was good, right?
Gay Street on Women's Suffrage Lane.
It was on Gay and South Gay. It was.
Oh wow! So it was double gay. Okay.
Yeah, and Sava really wants to know whether or not it was born gay or chose to be gay later. I say it was remade gay because it's a choice.
Absolutely.
He says it's probably born gay.
All right. So first up, now that leads me to another question. You've never had a good burger, Sava, until then? Like what burgers were you eating before?
Hockey pucks.
Hockey pucks.
Yeah, I never had a good burger before that.
So you never had like a real burger, like okay.
No.
Yeah, we had to go to Gay Street to.
Gay Street was where it was to discover the truth of the burger. All right. So now, which road did we take to get out of here? Because now I'm a little bit back on US 11.
We went. Yeah, I think it was US 11, but we went north. Went through. Yeah, he has to pull up the map himself to figure out where we went. All I know is that we ended up in Roanoke, Virginia at the end of that day. And
Yeah, Roanoke, Virginia. That was our next stop.
yeah, we were trying to get down the road as far as possible. Spent 15 hours driving. So
wow.
For a road trip, I don't know how many people in the audience have actually done a road trip across the U.S. It's fun. Yeah, so we went probably through. Yeah, we went through. I think we just cut straight into from Knoxville to Roanoke. So we went also 81. It looks like I-81.
Okay, so we took the 81. Okay, so that's a pretty well-known road.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going up the 81, and so what was your first stop?
We stopped in Roanoke just so we could sleep.
Oh, okay.
15 hours on the road was a long time, and I'll tell this story. So we're trying to look for just like a cheap hotel. It's like, okay, we're not trying to blow any money or whatnot. We're in Roanoke, and Thaddeus like, oh, I'll pull up the phone. It's like, oh, this one has what was it, like 2 stars on Google? It's the cheapest one in Roanoke.
No,
like,
this one had 1 star.
Oh, okay, I had 1 star.
Oh, wow.
And $1 sign, so that we tried.
That's the cheapest. There you go.
Well, we pull in, and there's a lookout, a plug, a watch. There's a whole setup there.
There's a John walking around. There's a.
Oh, serious?
There's some stuff going down.
Meth-addled people and.
Yeah, and they signaled to each other, so I parked and then promptly got out of there. So, yeah. Or he parked, and I was like, "We can't stay here."
I was fine with it. With guns, I was like, "Whatever,"
He's like, "Let's have a battle."
Yeah.
I said, "I got $20 extra. We could get the next dollar sign up."
So in other words, it's just too much. I was like, no.
Yeah. Which the other hotel, which was slightly better, was just right across the street from the drug dealer hotel. So
okay, but that's the one that had security. So
yeah.
And then Thaddeus sat in the lobby trying to convince the guy that we're not gay, even though we got called engaged.
He's like,
yeah, we try to get the cheapest room. We try to get the cheapest room, and so he's like, I don't need a bed, so we only need a 1-bedroom.
Oh boy.
Because he sleeps on the floor, and I'm like, just to be clear, we're not together.
This is not going to look good. No.
No one believes.
Okay, guys, we're right across the street from the Sleazy Hotel. We know what's up.
Yeah. So.
All right. So okay. So you spend the night there, and you get it back on the 81. And so where are we going now?
We went from 81 to Pennsylvania. We're driving through Pennsylvania.
Okay.
81 went through Harrisburg. Oh, actually,
sorry.
We were in Maryland for like an hour or two as well. I don't even remember. We'll go through Maryland, Pennsylvania, and then we're just headed to New Jersey. So second day was only about 7 hours on the road. We were headed to Vladika Andrej's house/church.
St. Nicholas the Wonder Worker.
It's a house. It's a house church. It's kind of his, his seat there. Okay, so we've crossed this river. What is this? The Cumberland County. Okay, we got a ways to go. You guys drive a lot faster than I move this mouse. Apparently, wait. There we go. Back on the 81. All right. Now we're in Northeast PA. We're almost there, guys. I've lost my way. Okay, I know my basic geography, so I'm just going to go like this.
Right. Yeah, we went to New Jersey from there, and there was another fun incident on the road. I love the fun ones.
Oh, what happened?
So we thought,
I was navigating, which is a disaster, because I purely follow Google Maps directions from the robot lady.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up in Newark, in the heart of Newark. Yeah.
Newark was not fun. We live near New Orleans, and New Orleans has bad parts and good parts.
Yeah, Newark doesn't.
It's all bad. And we're driving around. It's like, Vladika lives here. And thankfully, we found out later he does not live in Newark. He lives in Elmwood Park. But
yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah, he said Vladika lives here, and I'm like, yeah, man.
Few people realize how large New Jersey is too. So, our Abbey is also in New Jersey, and it doesn't look like Newark. But okay, so Elmwood Park. I'm trying to remember because being a former New Yorker, I'm trying to remember. Okay, I really don't remember where it is. Is it the south part of Jersey, or
It's about 40 minutes away from Newark.
that could be in a lot of different directions? But I'm gonna
North,
go
I
with
think.
Elizabeth. We're closer now, so probably around.
I think it's north of Newark, northeast maybe.
That's. I have this handy thing here. I don't have to. Okay, found it. All right. Yep, there we go.
So once we
All
got
right.
out of Newark, once we survived Newark, which was good, we survived that place. We went to Vladika's Parish. That's on was it 95 Elm Street in Elmwood Park, New Jersey. For anyone that wishes to go, very very beautiful little church. So we're there, and we greet Vladika, or he came out and greeted us. We, sitting there, we gave us him and Matushka Mary gave us some food. And we were just, trying to rest. We've been on the road all day. And Vladika says, "Oh, do you want to go to Novo Divievo?" It's like, "Oh, tonight?" Tonight? I was like, "Well, I guess it gives us more time to do stuff tomorrow." So that night, we got there at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're already going to Novo Divievo like an hour later, which is only
Yeah, Ludika Andrea has gone to Nova Divievo many times, so that's.
Well, you lived there for a little bit.
He was the cell attendant for Archbishop Andrea of Nova Divievo for a while. One moment, let me pull up Spring Valley so people can see where that is.
So we go to Novo Divievo with Vladika and Matushka Mary. We see the Grabe family. We visit the grave of Vladika Gregory Grabe and also Vladika Andrei of what is it, Syracuse? Wasn't that his seat?
No, Andrea of Nova Divievo.
Yeah, Andrei. Yeah, Andrei of Novo Divievo. Of course, Vladika Anthony Grabe's grave is there as well. Very, very interesting. Us being from Louisiana, we had never really seen big Orthodox church before like that, and the cemeteries and whatnot. It was very, very interesting. We also heard all sorts of stories from Vladika Andrei about his time when he was there, the cell attendant for Blessed Andrei, and also just some of the other stuff. Like I know you reported on it many years ago, Father, when they expelled the two monks from the two nuns from Novo Divievo.
Mm-hmm.
Those were Vladika Andrei's nuns. They were in communion with ROAC.
Mm-hmm. One thing a lot of people don't understand about the early history of the ROAC is that many people, like Vladika Anthony and Vladika Gregory Grabe, joined the ROAC early on. Like you mentioned, Matushka Mary, the Matushka Maria, that's the widow of Father Vladimir Shishkov, who also had joined ROAC very early on. When first Vladika Valentin began operating in Russia, because from their perspective, the job of the church abroad was complete. They had brought back Orthodoxy to Russia and had brought back some sense of canonical order to Russia. So that was part of the mission of ROAC, and so that's part of the reason why it was important. But yeah, many important people in the church abroad's history had gone to ROAC at that time.
Oh yes. So we're at the Novo Divievo. We're hearing some of Vladika Andrei's stories since we're clueless about a lot of these things. I know I was, and hearing some of the stories about some of the things. Of course, I asked about the two nuns that were expelled from the convent, and because I saw the video many years ago and I saw the articles and whatnot, and I was like, oh yeah, this happened here. It's interesting when you're standing there. It's like, oh yeah, that happened here.
Yeah, one of my first experiences with True Orthodoxy is that video when I was just still learning that Orthodoxy even existed. So it was pretty trippy to find out it was one of their nuns, one of our nuns, and what happened. One of them was not even buried there. She's buried at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which we went to soon after we left here. I think the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. But he walked us through the whole story. Very trippy, pretty tragic.
It is. Well, it's tragic, but there's victory in tragedy at the same time. So it's part of history, and unfortunately, it's part of a history that, to some degree, people try to delete it, but it's impossible. These were real people, real experiences, real clergy, real people who were doing these things and trying to protect the church. So yeah, it's great that you went there. So what happened next?
So we go back to Vladika's house. We're exhausted. Very busy day. We sleep in the attic. The attic was actually cool. We're from Louisiana. We weren't used to cool weather. So the next day, wake up, and Vladika wants to go to Jordanville with us. So we go to Jordanville. This is the fun story. This is one of the fun.
Yes, this is. I would say this was the most fun of the most interesting stories that I had heard. So let's go see if we can find Jordanville on OpenStreetMap. Let's see here.
So we drive.
Sounds about right.
So it's 5 hours from Vladika's to Jordanville.
Right.
Vladika drove the way there. And of course, we're asking him stories and questions and whatnot. I think I annoyed him with how many questions I was asking about certain things. And 5 hours.
Probably not. He's a pretty patient guy.
He is pretty patient, but I think I might have tested his patience maybe once or twice.
I can see that. I mean, you didn't do that with me, but that's fine. For the record, I am in this story somewhere. Don't worry.
Mother Joseph is involved.
Not like people were waiting for this, but okay. All right, so let's get to Jordanville. You get to Jordanville. How's it start?
We get to Jordanville, and of course, we're immediately blown away by the beauty, the churches, the cupolas. It is absolutely beautiful. Never seen anything like that. Of course, Louisiana has nothing even remote. I mean, there's a big Greek church in New Orleans, but it's not really that impressive. So we get at Jordanville, and everyone's inside. No one's around. And of course, Vladika takes us immediately to the tombs, to the graves. He's pointing people out. You know, he's like, "Oh, here's Father Flores, and here's Father Kipian, here's Father Nikita." Of course, we saw the relics of Saint Philaret of New York, which was a great blessing. And after walking around for a little bit, Vladika is telling stories. He's telling us about his time there. These people come out the seminary building.
One with a camera, the first one.
Oh, that guy. We'll talk about that guy in a second. But these people come out, some seminarians, and I think one Hiram monk, and they look over at us. And they recognize who Vladika Andrei is, of course, and they storm back off inside. And then, like, some more people come out. They do the same thing. They like, "Oh, it's that guy." They go inside. And eventually a little crowd started to form around us. It was a little bit intimidating. This one guy with the camera got right up in Thaddeus's face for some reason. Like, he kept creeping closer and closer. And Thaddeus was moving over, but then he decided, okay, I'm just going to sit here. And the guy just got right up in his face with this camera.
Thaddeus, what did you think about this guy coming?
I'm kind of, I guess I converted in 2019. I'm kind of new to Christianity, period, much less Orthodoxy. I was pretty shocked. Just the image of people, you know, they ran down half the steps from the seminary, went, oh, and then ran back up. It was like they're alarmed. After they saw who it was. It was just kind of like a movie, I gotta be honest with you. And then 4 of them surrounded us initially. And Vladika said, "Hey, how are you?" to the guy with the camera, who was like really close. He went, "Hey," but they didn't say anything, which is so odd.
Oh, well, one
of them from California did go get a blessing and was, "Hey, how you doing? Vladika bless." And
he had no idea.
yeah. No, a monk came up to him talking to Vladika and kind of was like trying to represent the other side of the story, I guess.
Oh, yeah, there's a good story. This guy comes over, this monk, and basically whatever Vladika is saying in his stories, this guy is just trying to sit there and contradict that. Like, he's just sitting there just saying
he's just being a well-actually guy.
Yeah, he was a well-actually guy. What's funny is eventually he was pointing out Flores, which Father Flores was born on the same day, same age, and had the same name as Loris, the great trader, which we saw his grave as well. Vladika's like, "Oh, by the way, that's Loris over there." I was like, "Oh, hi, Loris." I didn't know what else to say. Yeah. But so Father Flores, he died not in communion with the MP. He refused to communion with the MP. And this monk, the well-actually guy, is like, "So why did Flores not want to be in the MP?" And Vladika just turns to this guy and says, "Everyone in this graveyard died so they wouldn't be in communion with the MP." And the guy just kind of walked off. He just walked off after that. All these young people came up, and I don't think these young people these young people didn't know who Vladika Andrei was. They probably thought he was an MP bishop or something. And
probably true.
Eventually, Archbishop Luke comes out. He just gives like the nastiest stink eye, evil eye over towards Vladika Andrei. And then they hold this little procession, Panahidi, for Loris, because it was his name day that day. And
What a coincidence.
yeah, we do it. They're doing it right next to us. And we kind of walk away a little bit, so we can't really pray with them. So we go into the church, which last time Vladika was there, the time before last, they locked him out of the church and refused to let him in. But
Yeah, so we kind of snuck in.
Really?
we snuck into the church because they were distracted doing a penny Morris. We go into the church and it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's a stunning church. Jordanville is a truly beautiful church. I wonder if I can pull up a picture of the church while I'm at it. Let me just see here.
So we're walking around and we're just stunned by this. We've never seen anything like this. Vladika is pointing out the icons. He's telling stories. We were also able to go into the basement because they have the chapel in the basement dedicated to St. Jobo Pochayev. And usually that's locked. So we were able to see that, which glory to God, because usually most people aren't even able to see that. So we're walking around.
Yeah, Vladika's giving us a tour, talking about the relics, the history. Yeah, so we had a tour guide, a top-notch tour guide.
I'm going to quickly share a picture here if I can get to one. Give me one moment. And so if you want to see what the interior of Jordanville looks like, one moment here. I'm going to put that back up here. So this is what you saw, correct?
Yep.
As you can see, it's quite a majestic structure. Okay, so we're going to stop sharing. We're going to share this. Go back to the map. Okay, so you mentioned the bookstore. Tell me a little about
that.
Yeah, we leave the basement and, we want to go to the bookstore, maybe get some icons, prayer rope, what have you.
There's a lot of stuff in the bookstore.
For sure, yeah. And we go into the bookstore. There's a young man from Russia, and Vladika, he, gets a blessing from Vladika. They're talking in Russian. Well, he goes down the steps. They got the camera, starts talking to him, kind of pointing and saying, basically stay away from those people is what it looked like. And the bad people. So the bookstore was closed, and we had to wait there, 30 or so minutes.
We went down the road and saw the graves.
We went and visited all the cemeteries. I guess there's 3 different ones. Yeah, 3 different sections.
We got to see Brother Jose Munoz Cortez's grave.
Oh, wow.
Great blessing.
The guardian of the Ivor icon, yeah.
Yes. And had a martyric death. If people don't know about it, they should absolutely look up the life of Blessed Jose.
Yeah, very tragic.
And as we were talking about before the stream started, we also got to see Vladika Andrei's grave because there's a headstone and it says Archbishop Andrei, Malikov. And it's there. It's ready for him.
Oh, wow. That's right. You visited his he has I guess he has his grave already he has his tombstone set up already.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of trippy to be in front of your own headstone.
Yeah, so it's like we have a good picture of Vladika Andrei in front of his grave.
Are you able to share it?
It's on his phone. Maybe.
I'll text it to you.
Yeah, if you can.
I don't know if that will.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. Also, if you want to, you can also click the present button if you want to share any pictures that you have handy.
I don't think it's on the computer here, but I think Thaddeus is trying to find it right now. So we walk around the cemetery. Vladika Andrei is telling us about all the people there. Very, very interesting. And we wait 30 minutes. We go back to the bookstore. So we go into the bookstore, and this guy is there. He's Russian as well, and he's sitting there, and we're going around, and we hadn't been in there very long. We're maybe in there for like three minutes or something, and this guy starts saying, "Oh, you guys need to get out of here because we're about to redo the floors." Now, the floors
they just opened, not even 5 minutes before. Like we got one aisle and we're going on the second aisle.
You need to leave. We're redoing the floors, guys.
Well, so Thaddeus has all this stuff and he buys all this stuff, and they say, "Oh, Vladika's like, oh, put on my account. I lived here for many years. I was seminarian here. Get a 10% discount." We found out later they didn't give us the 10% discount.
Oh wow, that's petty.
Yeah, they didn't give us the 10% discount because they realized we're true Orthodox.
They gave it on the cheap things, not the expensive things. That might be their policy. I doubt.
I'm just really surprised because obviously, if Vladika Andrei mentioned this like he did, that would indicate that he probably shopped there a few times since, and probably just never noticed that they weren't giving him the discount.
Yeah. So the what was happened? They went in there with the spray that they were putting on the floors, and they do it on this one side, and they put it on this one side, and there's another door to the books. There's two doors to the bookstore. Like, okay, can we go at the other door? Well, this monk comes over and starts instructing his workers like real quick, like, oh, go spray this side of the door. And the guy's like, oh yeah, if you don't leave like now, you're gonna be locked in here for like an hour. So this other monk is like going over, like talking to these like little Hispanic guys, like go spray the floor, go spray the floor. Let's trap Vladika Andrei in here.
Yeah, he was rushing them.
Yeah, and they also tape off the doors. So we're walking through the other side of the hallway, the back door, and Vladika's beard, I think, got stuck in the tape, and he told a joke. He said, "Well, every bishop has to get incarcerated at one point." So we walk down the stairs, and the dude with the camera is just sitting there waiting for us. Stare down,
Right.
One last stare down before we leave. So we get in Vladika's car. He has this little Volkswagen, German, of course. Of course.
All Volkswagens are German, so yeah.
Well, he's German, so he was talking about how his favorite beer is German, all this stuff.
He's part German. Technically, Maklakov is it's a Russification of the name McLaughlin. So I thought he was mostly Irish, but I guess he's part German too. So.
No, he speaks German. His grandmother spoke German.
Oh, wow.
Almost full-blooded German. Well, according to him anyway. I asked him, is it because you're a German, Vladika, that you like German beer? It's like, oh, of course not. Can't be that. But so
who doesn't like German beer?
I'm Irish. I have to disagree on some things.
I like Irish beer too.
So we leave, and there was another guy who was there at Jordanville, and he was a seminarian. We go down the road to the town of Jordanville, and Vladika's like, "Oh yeah, you have to try the New York pizza because we never tried."
Absolutely, yeah, that's true.
We stop at this.
Not wrong.
We stop at this New York pizza place, and we're sitting there with Vladika. He's telling stories and whatnot. One of those seminarians came in.
No, really?
And he just goes. He looks over at us and just gives like another evil eye towards Vladika. Gets his pizza and then leaves. The pizza place 10 minutes down the road.
Like, where did they go next? They're eating pizza.
So we're sitting there eating pizza. It's amazing. The New York pizza is all that's cracked up to be. I can confirm that now. And we got the pizza, and then I was driving back. We drove by Vladika Andrey's place, a Mountain View place.
Oh, did you stop it?
No, we didn't stop there at that time.
Okay.
But we did a little drive-by on it. And we're driving through. Vladika's telling stories and whatnot. And, of course, speaking of navigation, Thaddeus wants to say that he did all the bad navigating. I got us lost, very lost.
Where'd you end up?
Somewhere in the middle of New York. I don't even remember. Yeah. And Vladika is trying to figure out where we're at. Thaddeus is trying to figure out where we're at. It's like, I'm behind the wheel. I can't do anything. So we got stuck in the middle of New York on the way back, which only had like an extra hour. We get back to Vladika's place in New Jersey, and we're exhausted. We go to sleep. And next day, wake up, and Vladika's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go visit all these places now." He was like, "You can take a break. You can take a break. You don't have to drive us around everywhere."
I think he was excited, I understand.
But it's like, so he's like, "Okay, we're gonna go check out these places. We're gonna go drive by these places. We're gonna go see the Statue of Liberty." It's like, okay, we're sure we're in New York, New Jersey.
Why
we
not?
have to do it. Why not? And Vladika's going to take us to the Statue of Liberty, so why not?
So you go to the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, we drove by the Tolstoy farm originally. We were driving by that.
Yep.
He also took us to Nyack, which was a beautiful little town. He showed us the protection of the Most Holy Theotokos Church, which that's where that Sister Vasa, her father is the priest there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
George Laren.
Yeah, George Laren. Interesting little thing. But beautiful church. We were driving all around. We stopped at a Sleepy Hollow, which is where one of those nuns that we were talking
Yes.
about in the video, she's buried there. Pelagia Moriena. She's buried at Sleepy Hollow because they refused to let her be buried at Novo di Viejo.
Right.
So we did a panahidi at her grave, and we're walking around Sleepy Hollow, which is interesting. American history, and everyone here might be familiar with all that.
Yeah,
Well,
the Washington Irving is legend. Yeah.
We didn't see the headless horseman there. We don't know we don't know where he's buried, but we're walking around. It was a beautiful, beautiful little place. So from there we drove through. We didn't want to go through New York City, but somehow we got stuck in New York City.
This happens.
And Ladika's driving, and I'm in the back. And
I was navigating again.
Yeah.
I tried warning them, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're stuck in New York City, and I've never seen awful traffic, awful drivers. I was terrified in the back seat. Survived. We got stuck in a New York City traffic jam, which was
as bad as it sounds. Yeah.
Well, never seen that before. They definitely, I can say a lot of things about New Orleans drivers, but it's not that bad. Not that bad by any means. We kind of sort of drove by the Synod building, the old Roquefort Synod building.
Yeah, we were in that area. Yeah.
We sort of drove by, and we're just sitting there, talking because we had nothing else to do. We're sitting in traffic for hours and hours and hours. Eventually, we escaped New York, which took way longer than it should have, and we're back on the New Jersey side. And
we walked on the what was that called?
The Liberty Park.
Towards the train station.
Yeah, Liberty Park, and we saw the Statue of Liberty pretty close. Which
we had to keep up with Ladika. Actually, he was leading the charge.
Yeah. So. We're walking with him, asking him all sorts of stories and advice, asking for spiritual advice and whatnot. One thing that I thought was interesting is, there's an Orthodox bishop walking around. He's got the Rasa, Scufion, Panagia, and just, it's New York. No one cares. There's Orthodox bishop walking around. Oh, whatever. It's probably one of those foreigners. It was interesting just walking around with an Orthodox bishop and no one acted like it was a big deal at all. So.
Yeah, that's kind of true in a lot of places, actually. But
they always think he's a rabbi.
Yeah.
That's also, unfortunately, also true in New York, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know how anyone could get that idea because, the Panagia, you see, the Theotokos, and
they just see a beard. They see. You have to realize New York has historically, for the past probably at least 100, 125 years minimum. Has been probably the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. That before there wasn't, a state of Israel, New York was the center of worldwide Judaism, basically.
Oh yeah, we saw the.
I think his his neighbors, like the neighborhood kids, they call him Mr. Gandalf or something like that. Right?
One of the parishioners there, he was Vladik was telling this story. It's like one of the parishioners there was asking the kids next door. They were outside playing. It's like, oh, what do you think about living next to an Orthodox bishop? It's like, Orthodox bishop, we call him Father Dumbledore.
That's it. Yeah, Father Dumbledore.
Well, I was once walking with my cassock, and a bunch of kids started yelling Hagrid at me. So who knows? There's a Harry Potter connection.
I hear that a lot. Yeah, I get that.
There's a Harry Potter connection here, apparently. So we're walking around with Ladika. We walk by Ellis Island. He's giving us New York history lesson, which was fascinating. That man knows everything, it seems. Secular history, church history. He knows it all. So, we get back to the house. It was really late that night. It was 11 o'clock at night.
All right.
Sleep again. Well, that day, the next day, Vladika was tired, understandably so. So we didn't want to be in his hair. Well, was that the day he took us to the Ukrainian food store?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he did take us to a Ukrainian food store because he needed to buy food and to give us the Russian food, which all the people here, you probably know this already, but the Russians force feed you. Russians will force feed you. The first night we were there. Yeah, the first night we were there, we're having Chinese because it was a Wednesday, and Vladika just said, finish up the rest of this the noodles here, and I eat a little bit, and then I stopped eating, and Vladika's like, no, finish up the noodles. So they force feed you, which got a little tiring after a while. I feel like I gained 10 pounds on the trip. Probably did, honestly. Good food, very good food. So we're in this Ukrainian food store, and it was interesting because I was walking around Vladika. Thaddeus took off to go. I was looking for kvass, but they didn't have actual kvass. So I was upset by that. But there's kvass later in the story, thankfully. So I'm walking around Vladika, and everyone's just kind of looking at Vladika. They're like, "Is that? Oh yeah, that's an Orthodox priest. I've heard about those before." In fact, there was this one woman. He goes up to this woman is working behind this counter, and she's doing some with seafood. And the woman's like, "Are you an Orthodox priest?" And like Vladika's sitting there, he's just saying Russian, and yeah, that's me. I'm an Orthodox priest. One guy came up and asked for a blessing. He says, "Batishka blagoslavit," Father bless. Yeah.
If you let me put it to you this way, if you don't know the kind of the regalia a bishop wears, you're just going to assume it's a priest. So you kind of get used to that. I would imagine.
Well, it was interesting because it was a Ukrainian food store. At first, I thought it was Russians, and I'm sitting there, and
basically the same food.
Yeah, well, yeah, same people as well, but can't say that. Well, I'm sitting there, and I think I was saying something about Ukraine. I think I said something about holes, and I just then realized, wait, everyone here is speaking in a Ukrainian accent. So something about holes, and then I look over, it's like, oh wait, oh no, I'm in the lion's den. But we survived the Ukrainian food store.
I'm sure it was going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to upset the Ukrainians there, so
it's still the money is all green, so
yeah, it's all green here in America. So we leave, and we wanted to get out of Vladika's hair, and I wanted to visit the place anyway. We went to the Abbey of the Holy Name, which is, of course, where
this was an interesting story.
Oh yeah.
I may interject here that I first discovered their pilgrimage because I received a phone call, as well as a number of text messages immediately from Bishop Enoch saying, "Did you send people here?" And I'm like, no.
So we drive 20 minutes. It was only 20 minutes away from Vladika's. We go to the Abbey of the Holy Name, and it was a beautiful little place. I can definitely recommend people go there. And we're driving around
with a blessing. All monasteries, you should get a blessing before you go.
Yes. Well, we were trying to call, and not saying anything bad about Vladika John, but he didn't pick up our phone calls.
Well, yeah, he's kind of old, and the phone's on the first floor of their landlines.
Okay, so it's like it's a monastery, and it says they're about to hold their services in an hour. Maybe they're accepting guests. So we pull up, and of course we talk to Ricky, who's the guy that lives there, as we found his name from Father Joseph.
Yeah, he kind of lives on the premises, and he kind of does like handiwork there.
Yeah. So we pull up, we're just looking around. I walk up to this guy. It's like, well, is Vladika Enoch here? It's like, I think Vladika Enoch might know who I am, maybe. Might know. And we're sitting around. Vladika Enoch comes out. I say hello, get his blessing, and brings us inside. Metropolitan John comes down, and we're sitting there talking with him. I was asking questions about Vladika Fyodor Ortel, and we're walking around. Very, very interesting place. But I think, Father, you could tell about the other perspective.
Yeah. Okay. I will. Basically, after I got kind of called. It is, and I will mention this, especially with smaller monasteries, it's always common to try to ask for a blessing to go. But in this particular case, I guess because they were so close, they just went. But Bishop Enoch was kind of shocked. He did not recognize. Again, you thought he would recognize you by voice. People don't usually do that. It's because voices are actually the level of registers on voices is actually fairly. What's the word I'm looking for? It's fairly common. So you can hear a voice, but not necessarily recognize a person when you see them. But in any case, so Bishop Enoch was concerned because, as I explained, basically, historically, monasteries get pilgrims and they get raiders. That's kind of it. That's unfortunate that we've had people try to take the monastery before and literally show up like, I think this will be a great home for me. And the point is that's it's so yeah, always, and this is not just for you guys, but for everybody. make sure to call and get a blessing to go to a monastery first. Larger monasteries, such as we're going to talk about later, will often have a guest master to handle things like that. But you should still call to get a blessing from the abbot if you can. In any case, so you saw the interior of the church, and what did you think of it?
Oh, it's definitely beautiful, and of course, I've seen Western Rite stuff before, but it was actually done. It's done properly there.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't look like a Roman Catholic church or anything like that. No.
Oh no, it's also the relics there. They have relics for anyone that'd be interested in possibly going there. They have relics of Saints Peter and Paul, Saint Mary of Egypt, lots of relics there, which of course great to venerate. Lots of pictures and stories about the Vladika Fyodor Hotel, if anyone's interested about that.
Yes, and he did die there, and he's buried nearby. For people who think that he's buried somewhere else.
Yeah, because they say he's buried in Texas or something.
He's not. He's buried in New Jersey.
Yeah, I remember reading that. It's like, wait, what?
That and Father Herman, who oversaw the book, actually he showed up at the Abbey a few weeks before the repose of Father Theodore to try to convince him to go to Blanco, but Father Theodore refused.
Yeah. So we leave the Abbey of the Holy Name. We get back to Vladika's house. We, of course, do the all-night vigil. And, that was interesting. It was done in Slavonic, which the first time heard Slavonic services in person.
Oh, wow.
Which, I know a little bit of Russian, not that much. And Slavonic is way different than that. So we couldn't really follow along that well. And, we're kind of blundering and whatnot because we're trying to follow along. We're trying to do what we can. But, we're both pretty new. I'm very new at being a reader. I've only been a reader for like 3 months now. So it was a crash course.
And in a different language to boot. It happens. Yeah.
It was a crash course for me. Thankfully, Thaddeus was able to point me to a lot of what I was supposed to be doing. So we survived the all-night vigil with the Russians. And then we had a big meal where we survived the force feeding. Next morning. And also, for anyone that's not aware, we have some pictures, but we're kind of having technical difficulties when it comes to sharing pictures. Vladika Andrei's parish is in the basement. It's a very beautiful little church for being in a basement. The walls are painted with these little murals. The ceiling is painted with a little design, a little mosaic thing. There's beautiful icons. It's a very beautiful little thing. Very small, however. Everything's done in Slavonic. Not too many people go there. Everyone that went there didn't really speak English very well. So
it's a Russian parish. I mean, I don't know if you guys made it to Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn, but it's like all Russian. Like even the signs are in Russian.
Well, we were just trying to keep our head above water. But one thing that I was joking with Yatish, who's in the chat here, said, well, now we can call ourselves catacombniks because we quite literally worship the basement. And one interesting thing is that the woman who painted the ceiling, she used the silver paint, so there's no there's no Wi-Fi in there. I tried to pull up my phone in the church, and it's like, oh, it doesn't work. We're
good. What are you doing?
Yes, true. This was before that. I was trying to take pictures in the church, and
that should still work without Wi-Fi. So.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, well, okay, we're protected from the 5G radiation, and so we're protected from the direct energy weapons and all that other stuff. But
I was going to also get shungite. Shungite also absorbs most of that 5G radiation. It's actually quite cheap.
So we, of course, celebrate the Divine Liturgy, take communion, and Vladika gave a short little sermon in English for us, just for us, which was nice. Then we go upstairs and have a Russian feast. There's one guy who goes there. I don't know if you ever met him or ever heard of him, but his name is Vasily. He's a Romani. He's gypsy, and he's like a world famous opera singer. And the guy's
there when I went now.
Okay, well, he's there, and he doesn't really speak English very well, and he's asking, he's asking, where we're from. Okay. He's asking where we're from, and he's like, Louisiana. Oh, yes, alligator. That's all he had to say. Louisiana. So wow. He's like, oh, yes, alligator. So they're trying to figure out how life is like in Louisiana. I'd say, oh yeah, it's pretty good. There's alligators too, but it was interesting hanging out with all the Russians. We're trying our best to learn the Russian customs because I don't know too much, but yeah, everyone was very shocked when we said Louisiana. No, everyone's
That's
like,
just because it's far.
it's
They're
far.
like, I'm from Brooklyn.
So we of course spend the Sunday with Vladika. We're talking with all these people that are there. Very very good. Monday morning we leave after having breakfast, and we start heading to the St. John Monastery. St. John.
Okay.
I will say one thing. At Vladika Andres, it's Maria Grabe's house. You're saturated in old World War history, pictures, everything on the wall, icons, everything. It's just you're in a museum, and it was just
it's there's a lot of history that has been preserved there. For those who don't know, the synodal website for ROAC in the USA is roacusa.org. And if you go to documents, you can actually see the church newsletters, known as first they were known as the Department for External Affairs kind of newsletter, and then it became known as Church News, which was run by Anastasia Shatilovna, Matushka Anastasia Shatilovna. And basically, the entire archive of those things going back to the 1970s is available in the documents section. Go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Well, I tried to take as many pictures of the photos and documents. I'm going to try to get all those uploaded. Lots and lots of pictures that may or may not be out there already of St. Philaret of New York, of people like Metropolitan Anastasi.
Yeah, I wish I had told you guys about the sharing pictures earlier. That way there wouldn't be technical difficulties. I do apologize that all we have so far are maps and occasional pictures on the internet. But yeah. Okay, so
I'm going to try to get a thing prepared, like all the pictures from this trip. I'm going to try to get it online. I'll post it on the Discord.
That'd be great.
A couple of the Telegram channels and whatnot for anyone here that knows me from any of those places. So from there, we drive to the St. John Monastery. But before we're there, it's like, well, we drove by the Mountain View place, and we stopped at the Vladika Andronik's monastery, Mountain View.
Okay, Mountain View. Hold on.
Yeah, which is 10 minutes away from the St. John Monastery. I can highly recommend anyone they're going to the St. John Monastery, just take the 10 minutes and go visit Vladika Andronik. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can find. First, I'm going to find Mountain View, New York. And then we're going to see if I can find a picture.
Yeah. It's a beautiful little building. It used to be a poorhouse, and there was a Roman Catholic monastery for a little bit, and now it's an Orthodox monastery. So we show up, and we did the same thing that we did at the Abbey of the Holy Name. We showed up unannounced because we tried to call, and the phones were down because they have a landline, and their landline wasn't working for some reason. So we show up, and it was worth it. I'll just say that because we were eating Vladika Andronik. He gave us a tour of the church. We're looking at it now. It's still being painted. Father Theophan is painting the church. Vladika Andronik asked us not to put any of the pictures on like public internet and whatnot because the place is still really under construction.
Well, I'm going to just show a general picture of the church, which I do have here with some people. Give me just a moment here.
So we're with Vladika Andronik, and of course he's telling stories about St. Philaret of New York because he knew him. Of course, he was born in China. He's a very, very interesting man. Very interesting stories. Yeah.
Oh, this is Astoria. Sorry, you didn't get to see Astoria, did you?
No, we never went towards Astoria. We saw it from afar, but that was about it. So we're at Vladika Andronik's monastery, and we're sitting there. He's giving us a tour of the church. He's telling us stories, and very fascinating. And we're about to leave. We got to get to the St. John Monastery. Well, Vladika Andronik turns to us and says, do you drink kvass? And I was like, I make kvass. Now I have to stay. Now we have to stay. Kvass? I have to try your kvass. For those who don't know, I'm addicted to kvass, it seems. I will drink a gallon of that stuff a week sometimes, which is very unhealthy. Don't recommend that.
So, it's not that unhealthy. It's quite normal.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. So he breaks out.
For those who don't know, kvass is basically it's naturally carbonated, a slightly fermented and slightly alcoholic beverage made out of bread, out of rye bread to be specific. But it's very tasty. Depending on how you make it, it can be very sweet. It can be very sour. But it's always refreshing, and it's a fantastic summer drink. They sell it all over in Russia, including in bottles, which I don't recommend. There's really not good bottled ones. It's best homemade.
So this stuff was homemade. He also brings out the hachapuri, which hachapuri is this cheese pastry thing. It's very good. Hachapuri is great. So we're sitting there eating hachapuri, drinking kvass, and eating these tomatoes that they grow at that monastery.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, that's interesting. So you got some tomatoes?
Yeah, the tomatoes were amazing. But we're sitting there with Father Theophan and Vladika Andronik, and a very, very jovial man. Very happy. He's telling all sorts of jokes, all sorts of stories. Very, very good. Should I tell the one thing he said when we said from Louisiana?
No.
No. So I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. No.
You gotta respect that.
No, we said we're from Louisiana. He's like, Louisiana. I thought there was only blacks down there.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
oh my gosh.
He's like 74 years old. He was born in China. Give him a break.
Okay, I'm not saying nothing.
he's like 74 years old.
That's kind of weird. That you get that experience in a lot of times in when you go to Miami. Miami, the Cuban community is generally there. I mean, a lot of them are white and some of them are black. But the point is, many Hispanics automatically assume Cubans are black because of television. They watch this is back before the internet. They would watch baseball games. And so the majority of the players were black. So they just assumed all Cubans were black.
But Vladika Andronik, great guy, amazing stories, very beautiful church. Father Theophan is an absolute master of iconography, and of course, good kvass as well. I can definitely recommend that. So we leave Vladika Andronik's place, and we go to the St. John Monastery. And I knew there was a quiet hour, but I thought it was from like 8:30 at night.
Did you show up uninvited there too?
No, we had a reservation.
Okay, for the record, 3 weeks previous, I made sure that he made reservations to all these places. And that's what I was told.
Well, okay, we had a reservation at the St. John Monastery. Father Sergius, who's the guest master, he was expecting us there. Okay, I said, we're going to be there sometime after 5, because I was really trying to give them enough time. So I show up, and I remember reading on the website there was a quiet hour.
Oh, I said that as we drove in.
I forgot.
I said it's quiet hour. We have to go real slow and quiet. And so we pull into the parking spot, and we get out of the car, and we notice some monks looking down over the hill. And Sava decides to yell out, "We're looking for Father Sergius!" across the monastery. And it's none other than Archbishop Demetrius himself.
Metropolitan Demetrius was like, "Oh, well, these people are new."
Right. And I'm just like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, so 5 minutes in the St. John's Monastery, and I already ended up making myself look like a moron.
Well,
I didn't realize it was quiet hour. So Metropolitan Demetrius, Archbishop Demetrius, he's taking us around the monastery. And they're trying to look for Father Sergius. They don't know where he's at. He's walking his dog. His dog's great. I love his dog.
Gimli?
What kind of dog is it? I have to ask.
It's like a little poodle-looking thing.
A terrier, right?
Oh, a Yorkie poo?
I don't know. It had long, kind of curly hair.
Is it
kind
of
small.
like my dog?
Yeah, kind of shorter hair. Yeah.
Well, mine's a Yorkie poo, so that's why I asked. I'm just curious. Okay, sorry, my useless detail.
Well, the dog was great. But so we're walking around. He's trying to look for Father Sergius. So Metropolitan Demetrius is showing us the church. Beautiful church. It's very late. It's very dark. We couldn't really see much. But we get situated in the guest house, and Father Sergius shows us that. We have a bunch of pictures of the monastery, but this is like blueprints. Okay, that's neat.
I found this. I guess it's kind of like, pictures of. I guess this was the designer or the iconographer. There's the holy doors.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had all the icons painted on the sides there, and they had an icon of Saint Andre of Rockland, which was interesting. It's like, well,
that is interesting. Wait, did it have a halo or no?
Yeah,
Yes.
they canonized it.
He's canonized. Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like, okay, well, we met his spiritual son, our Vladika, and we also saw his grave.
So that's pretty awesome.
I mean, they have tons and tons of relics at the St. John Monastery for those.
Yeah, I think he said over 400. I don't know. It was
Over
a lot.
200.
Wow.
Over 200.
Yeah, they have over 200, including one of Saint Sava of Serbia before the Turks
cool.
burned his relics. So that was a great blessing. They have, of course, a bunch of relics from Saint John Maximovich. 12 apostles, the Holy Martyr Tsar and his family, all sorts of new martyrs from Greece, all sorts of new martyrs from Russia, Serbia, all these, just tons and tons of relics. And, Father Sergius was giving us a tour of the relics, and he's like, yeah, we actually don't know half of these relics. We need to get a map set up so we can figure out. There's so many relics. They have a huge piece of the True Cross as well.
Yep.
But
yeah, I think it was 4 or 5 reliquary boxes, the big ones. Yeah, it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The whole wall of them. Yeah.
So we get in the guest house, and this is another thing that was mentioned earlier. But I sleep on the floor. I don't use a bed, and apparently the floor was water damaged or something, so it smelled awful. I'm sleeping on the floor, and
did you end up using a bed?
No. Father Sergius comes in, and Father Sergius is talking to Thaddeus. Thaddeus is trying to go to bed. I'm already sleeping, and Father Sergius is asking Thaddeus, like, why is he on the floor?
And I'm just like, I don't really know. I don't really know that guy.
Why do you sleep on the floor, if I may?
It's good for my back.
Okay. Well, just one day, a bed will be helpful. Trust me. Later on.
No.
I was just playing around. I didn't pretend I didn't know him. I said that's what he does. That's what he does.
And what did Father Sergius say? So like, he's going to need an exorcism from that floor.
Yeah, we had another guest there. He said that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk about that guy. That guy was a trip. But yeah, we wake up at 3:00 in the morning. Go to the divine services.
Sounds about right.
Thaddeus.
That was the same schedule they had on HDM.
Yeah. So Thaddeus, is a painter by trade. So he was painting the days that we were there, and I was working in the garden.
Oh, cool.
The days I was there.
So you were assigned duties.
Yeah.
So what did you do in the garden?
Well, mostly sweat and got cut up by thorns. I think it's wait in that little pond, though. That little pond they have.
What work did you do?
We got the seaweed out of the pond. We scraped the top of it.
Okay.
We were getting rid of the weeds. They had a bunch of spores. They call it stinkweed in Louisiana. It was just a mess.
Yes.
So we helped out that for a couple of days. I went and painted for a couple of days.
What'd you paint?
I think he was basically
what are they working on?
I don't know, but what's that?
Oh, what are they working on there that you were painting?
Oh, it was just the guest houses.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, they per the Athonite tradition, they take in anyone and everyone, right? For seeking refuge. Well, some people are troubled, right? So there's a guy put a hole in the wall.
A few demoniacs, interesting people.
Yeah, where demons came up.
Right? Unfortunately, that monasteries attract people, but they do also attract demons because demons hate the fact that they exist. So that's kind of a given.
For sure. Yeah. And so, I just painted the little guest house thing.
That's great. Okay. Well, that's good. You got some work in the deal.
Yeah, we helped move. Nah, I wouldn't do it. But we helped move a giant wash machine around. They said they needed all these things done, and they didn't know how they're going to get them done. And then 2 men show up.
So get them done.
They considered it a blessing. Yeah. So.
We tried our best. But yeah, there was
I'm
another
sure they
guy.
appreciated the help.
There's another guy, speaking of sleep on the floor, there's another guy who came in and he's like, why are you sleeping on the floor? He came up to me and it's like right over me. I said, why are you sleeping on the floor? And he was trying to drag me into the bed. I just kind of turned to this guy and I just say, I sleep on the floor because I do. I just rolled over on him and he left me alone. Also, that was the same night that Father Sergius, he came in with his dog to feed his dog, and his dog went over there and started licking my face and woke me up.
Yeah, because you were on the floor. That's what you get.
It seems like everyone didn't want me to sleep on the floor. Thaddeus keeps trying to tell me I should sleep on the bed.
Eventually, your own body will tell you need to sleep on a bed.
Well, I mean, no, it's good for my back. It's
only reason for now.
It's the only reason why I can walk, honestly.
What? Okay. Well, I was curious about that. What because okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, not relevant. So we're of course at the monastery. Very interesting food. They gave us stale bread and raw vegetables because it's I guess
stop! That wasn't that.
I
bad.
doubt that. I sincerely doubt that.
The bread
There's no rotten vegetable.
Well, the bread was stale. It was pretty good when you put olive oil on it. But
Yeah, the bread was a little stiff, but they had fresh bread too. But they had like it was actually surprisingly good food.
Did I just choose the
No, was that at the Trop? That
think
wasn't
you
at the
just chose
Trapezo.
the
That would have been
stale
after, like.
What's that?
I assume that wasn't the Trapezo. That would have been like they have like sometimes like I remember at HTM that was common. They had like kind of like time where people just snack on like leftover bread and stuff.
They had like 2 snack times and Trapezo. Yeah,
right. The Trapezo, I assume there was no stale bread.
No, there was no stale bread. It was really good food.
Did people just take all the fresh bread and I just ate the leftovers?
Yeah, they might have targeted you.
They figured he sleeps on the floor. Maybe this is what he likes.
Okay, I only got stale bread the whole time I was there. I'm now offended. They had fresh bread the whole time. I just took the stale bread. But Thursday we were there on a Thursday, and they gave us pizza. And I was sitting there, and this was after the Trapezo. This was the evening snack time they gave you. I'm sitting there with all these monks, like of all the things I thought I'd be doing, eating pizza with Athonite monks is the last thing I thought I'd be doing.
There's no meat on it. It's got cheese.
Yeah, 5 years ago, when I came to Orthodoxy, it's like, you know what? I didn't think I was going to be eating pizza with Athonite monks at a monastery in New York while they're asking questions about living in Louisiana. And of course, told all the interest. They were asking about what living in Louisiana is like, and they were asking about alligators. I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been alligator hunting before." And of course, they just look at me like, "Yeah, that makes sense." We get the 2 guys from Louisiana. One of the priests there, Father Theologos, he's from Louisiana.
Okay.
So you're like, oh yeah, we heard Father Theologos tell stories about Louisiana. He grew up in an interesting part of Louisiana.
Where did he grow up?
I'm assuming he grew up with Cajuns or something. That's what it sounds like. He kind of looks Cajun as well. He has darker skin. But yeah, so we're sitting there and they're asking about living life in Louisiana. I'm just like going off about stories and like, oh yeah, okay. The 2 people we get from Louisiana are just the biggest rednecks available. One of them anyway. But yeah, it was very, very good. The visit lasted 3 days.
Very nice.
When we left, of course, we made sure to give everyone a big hug, Russian tradition. Give everyone farewell. It was very blessed. I would recommend most people go there if they can. And of course, they have a very good operation there, a beautiful church. They need a lot of work. So if there's anyone here that's listening that would be interested in visiting, any sort of trade, they told us that they'd be willing to pay us to come up there again to work. Since I'm a plumber by trade, Thaddeus is a painter, so they'd be willing to pay people for a lot of this stuff because there's not much in that area.
Yeah, they're going through crisis of labor like everyone else. So
yeah, there's a labor, and especially as True Orthodox churches keep growing. I mean, the simple reality is, places need work and they need workers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a plumber by trade. I didn't know you were a painter by trade. Actually, I never asked you your jobs. Wait, I'm skipping ahead. Sorry. Continue. Where'd you go next?
We skipped ahead because the Monday before we went to Mountain View, we actually went to the Bearsville. We forgot about that.
Bearsville. That sounds familiar, but I don't know why.
That's the Holy Ascension Monastery. That's where all the monks were at St. John.
Oh, okay. I thought they all moved over to St. John's, but okay.
Yeah, no, they all did, but the Bearsville parish, that's where Bishop Christodoulos is. Because I was trying to get a hold of Bishop Christodoulos, and he wasn't there. And I was like, okay, well, I want to meet Basil. Basil wasn't there. Anyone that isn't aware of Basil, on the Greek Orthodox Christian television channel, whatever that's called on YouTube, they have a video about Basil. I suggest people go watch that. He's a trip.
If I'd known you'd gone to Bearsville, I would have recommended stopping by seeing if our church in Woodstock was open and available.
Unfortunately, we forgot all about it until after.
Yeah, it's our oldest church. It's like 100-something years old.
Oh wow!
It's a National Registry of historical places.
That is correct.
Yeah, we would have stopped if we remembered it, but
Yeah, we remembered it an hour after we left or something.
It happens.
I think we were sitting there at the monastery, and we're sitting eating with the monks for the evening meal. And I remember, I think Father Sergius brought up the Woodstock parish, the Metropolia.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there, it's like, oh, we missed that.
Yeah,
Too late now.
There.
Too late now. And of course, that's also where the famous music festival happened for people.
Yeah, the church is the best part of the town. I mean, some of the people are really, really nice, but it does attract like hippies and that sort of thing. But that's what are you going to do? But it's a beautiful church right next to a really, really annoying Buddhist monastery.
Yes, we heard about that.
Yeah, back when Father John was alive, it's managed by Father Vincent now. But when Father John Nelson was alive, he was like in like a sort of state of constant strife with them. So it would be like bell ringing versus them making noise, and it was just really they'd come to try to sense the area, and he'd have to come out with a censer and a cross after that.
Oh no! Well, it's a shame it's a shame we missed that.
You wouldn't have seen that. That's not common.
Well, no, for a return trip, we definitely want to visit the Woodstock parish. But also sorry about the desk. The desk is really loud here. I was just trying to close the shelf. But we forgot about that. So okay, we visited Bearsville, then Underdonik, and then we went to the St. John Monastery. We left after the Divine Liturgy on Friday, this last Friday. We left there, and me and Thaddeus, we got down the road, and we're like, you know what? I want more kvass. We both want more kvass.
Did you go back to Mountain View for kvass?
Yes, we did. And
but the Andronic's like, you're back. And
the Andronic comes out and he brings out the kvass, and they're talking.
But he have like a vat, or I'm confused. How much kvass did he have?
He brought out 2 bottles. He also gave us a bottle for the road. The bottle that I gave you, that was his kvass.
Oh, okay, wow. Yeah, no, I remember you telling me, but I didn't realize he gave you a bunch of kvass. I'm like, man, maybe I should go Mountain View.
He gave us a lot of kvass. We had kvass for breakfast, which was as good as it sounds.
Probably be like, Father Swayden, you have to pay for this. We know you just came for the drinks.
Yeah, well, we did, and we'll have a huge deal with
just
it.
Kidding, he wouldn't do that, but
he's a very, very nice man. So we leave, and of course, I told you the story. I'll self-snitch on myself like all these rappers nowadays do. Going down the road, and I was speeding a lot, and I got pulled over by the police, and somewhere in New York, like 10 minutes away from the
hospital. Did you guys get a ticket?
Yeah, I got a ticket.
Oh, did you check how you pay that ticket? Could it be paid online, etc.?
I tossed it out the window.
That's not a good idea.
Well, the plan is for now on. This is what Thaddeus says. Like, you know what? You're not driving on these trips anymore. I had to stop and get gas, and Thaddeus and Thaddeus is in the
so you got ticketed personally then? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're not driving in New York, it won't be a problem. And it goes away after 7 years. But okay, that's
well. For now on, Thaddeus has decided that.
I told him he should pay his tickets, and so he can mature. And he started contemplating it, and really like, okay, I think I'm going to pay it. And then whatever came over him 30 minutes later, he just rolls down the window and throws it out the window. And I'm like, oh, we got to make a U-turn now, and, just to mess with him. But
yeah, it's still on the record, even if you throw it out the window.
Well, the idea is I'm just probably not going to pay it. I'll find a way to pay it.
He'll mature later, I think.
Thaddeus kept me alive throughout most of the trip. So
I figured that. It sounds like
yeah, it sounds like
that's kind of why I went.
Just in case, we got to make sure he doesn't die.
Because Thaddeus is my godfather after all, so it's like, yes, keep me alive.
I'm bound.
All right. So then what happens? Where do you?
So from New York, we started heading to St. Tikhon's in wherever it is in Pennsylvania. St. Tikhon's.
Let me pull that up. Hold on. St. Tikhon's, South Canaan, Pennsylvania.
Yes,
north of Scranton.
Yep. So we started heading there. It was only like a 2-hour drive. It wasn't horrible from the St. John Monastery, or actually from kvass, because we wanted kvass instead. We were drinking kvass on the road as well, which Thaddeus said, you're wearing, because I was wearing a trench coat and also the shaikacha, as you said, Father Joseph. You said I looked like Vladimir Moss. Not to throw
a young Vladimir, very very young Vladimir, just to be clear, because he's kind of old now. But you had, you did have that kind of dress.
Yeah. So and
that Vladimir Moss swag.
Yeah. And that police officer had like a lot of reason to stop you because there's guns all over the vehicle. We're drinking this substance that looks like beer. I have a trench coat on and body armor. It's it's like it must be divine providence that you're not in prison yet, Sava. But so we stop at St. Ticon's, and that's one of the churches there. That looks, that's
this is actually this is what do you call it? The I think this is actually now a hall, but no, that's the back of the church. It's the back because there's a tomb.
They repainted because it was white when we were there. Yeah, that's the graveyard. So we go to St. Ticon's, and it's like, oh, we're gonna visit the relics of St. Alexis of Wilkes Barre. This is great. We go up, and this story is interesting, kind of like what happened at Jordanville, but not as bad. We walk up, and of course, I look ridiculous. I'm wearing this trench coat. I have a cane because my back hurts. I'm wearing the shaikacha. I look like Vladimir Moss.
And they're celebrating the Dormition that day because it's the new calendar.
The nativity,
The nativity, the nativity, and they so everything's closed, right? But we catch a parishioner outside. They were doing something in there. But
So sorry, it was Theodore sent me a text. But so we walk up. We're trying to look for people because we want to get into the church. This woman comes out, and I think it was the Matushka. I don't know who this woman was, but these people are looking at us, and she comes up and talks to us. And she was trying to figure out who we were with, but she wasn't asking too directly because she could probably clearly tell that we weren't with the OCA. Because everyone is around this monastery, like in short sleeves, clean shaven. Not making any personal statement about these people, but we have beards, and I'm wearing a trench coat, and Thaddeus has long sleeves on. They could clearly tell that we weren't OCA. And this woman kind of tells us like, oh well, the priest will come by. He's busy right now. He'll unlock the church, or he can come for the services in like 3 hours. So we're kind of standing around, and like 10 minutes later, the priest comes walking by. And he kind of looks over at us and then just keeps walking. And it's like, oh, okay. And I kind of got the impression, I was talking to Thaddeus, like, I think they don't really want us here. they gave a very weird vibe. They're like asking these questions like who we were and whatnot. Like, well, we're pilgrims. We just want to venerate the relics of the saint. And I think it might have been the Thaddeus was saying, it's like it might have been telling that we just wanted to venerate the relics and leave. That might have been the day that we weren't
because that's usually what it is. But the key is what I've mentioned before is if you want to visit the relics and you are true Orthodox, if you go during the service, you can pretty much just go and venerate them unimpeded. But kind of just have to do that carefully. And there's a lot of relics of new martyrs there, so it's worth the attempt. And they have a really cool bookstore, so where they sell their own coffee, which is interesting.
Well, it's closed.
It was closed that day.
Thaddeus is addicted to caffeine. Just saying. Well, saying a little bit, just a little bit. He's drinking caffeine right now, and he sees, they have their own coffee store, and he gets just run over there. And it's like, okay, I'll follow him. And he looks very disappointed that their coffee store was closed. But we just walked around the grounds. We saw the cemetery there. Of course, didn't know who anyone was. We were just kind of looking at the graves, just trying to see if anyone reposed on that day. Didn't find anyone that reposed on that day to pray for or whatnot. And we walked around the seminary building for a little bit. And you said the bookstore that we looked at the seminary. They had this little shelf with these books, and it was all Meyendorff, Schliemann, Romanides. And it's like, okay.
The good part is that the liturgical books, they do have quite a few of those, and they do have a good selection of that liturgical books and coffee.
So it's like, okay, we're looking at the books that they're teaching the seminaries, and it's like, it's the unholy trinity of ecumenist writers, Meyendorff, Schliemann, and Romanides. And it's like,
unfortunately, there's some interesting pictures. I know that I think I want to say, hold on, Saint Nikolai Vladimirovich is buried there. I want to say that. I'm pretty
sure. St. Ticon's? He was, but then they moved him to a Žiča monastery in Serbia.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was moved. He was moved to Žiča in like 2012 or something.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
Yeah, but he died at St. Tikhon's. Yeah, so
there's a lot of history.
But they didn't even have a thing that's like, oh, this is where St. Nikolai was buried, or else I would have gone there. Cause of course,
there's kind of like a semi-memorial in the bookstore, but
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was also another funny thing. I thought we were walking around the seminary building. It's like, oh, this is the Metropolitan Platon waiting room, and this is the archpriest.
I didn't notice this.
Like every room is dedicated to someone. It felt interesting. It's like, oh, here's the Metropolitan Platon waiting room.
Now that feels like a museum. I never noticed that. Wow.
Yeah, here's the archpriest so-and-so dining hall. And it's like, every room in this place dedicated to an OCA cleric. Is that the benefit? Is the benefit to join the OCA? You get your own room dedicated to you at St. Tikhon. So they had a picture of an OCA priest in like the 1950s wearing a cowboy hat. It was very weird place. Yeah, I took a picture of it because it was so strange.
I really wish you guys could have shared pictures.
They have a framed picture of an OCA priest in like 1950 something wearing a cowboy hat, like in his rasa. And it's like,
maybe
okay,
from Texas. I don't know.
They're just in the building. They just have it there. And it's like, oh, okay. So we go there, and then of course, this is the part that involves you, Father. We drive 30 minutes south to Wilkes-Barre to visit you.
Yep, this is where I enter the story because they showed up at my house. They did warn. They call in advance. They mentioned that they were at St. Tikhon's, and I was like, "Oh, they could be here in like 20 minutes then." And I was like,
"By this time, I learned, and I was calling."
And I know. I remember. Now that I know that.
You called us, Father, after we visited the Abbey of the Holy Name. We're in the basement. Doing close, and you called Thaddeus.
Oh, that was funny.
You called Thaddeus, and Thaddeus like, oh, I have Father Joseph on the phone. And I was like, I don't believe you. Let me on the phone, and then I
asked for a blessing. I said, "How are you doing?" He said, everything's fine." I said, "Everything's fine," and I didn't know what else to say. So, like, did they show up uninvited at your house too? And he just starts laughing hysterically. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. You talked to Vladika Andrei. We let you on the phone with her. But we gave him proper notice, but then he forgot. He forgot.
He forgot us. Yeah.
So we gave the notice for him, so it was a very interesting operation. But we show up at your house, Father.
Yeah, I'm not putting that one on the map because it's Wilkes-Barre. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to dox Father Joseph. But,
no, I don't mind. Yeah, it's fine. But
we show up at your house. Parking is interesting, very interesting. We had to park.
Yeah, we have street parking, so there's no actual like driveway or garage or anything. So you just have to find your way on the street to find some place to park.
And I don't know what we should and should not share for privacy reasons. So if you want to just
okay, I can take it over from here. So basically they came down. We sat down, we talked, we offered water. That's when Sava offered me some kvass. He was like, "This is from Archbishop Andronic." I'm like, "Okay," and it was very sweet kvass. I'm more of a sour kvass guy myself, but I do like sweet kvass just as well. So it's still great either way. But it was very good, well made kvass. And then basically we were talking about most of what we talked about on this program, which is why I thought this would be a very interesting thing for other people to hear. And then basically he brought a gift. It was a revolver. And I was actually very grateful. As clergy, I cannot fire a weapon, but my family can. So I immediately gave it to one of the family members, and I'm not going to say who for security reasons. And then we asked Sava if he could show us how it's used, and it's one of these older style. Can you explain the law on that again?
Okay. So I don't mean to turn this show into the True Orthodox apologetic show, and now it's the firearms.
No, this is a pilgrimage. It's a pilgrimage. Interesting details help.
But I gave Father Joseph this 1851 Colt Navy revolver. It's a reproduction made by Piatta in Italy. It's a what they call a cap and ball revolver. So it's a percussion cap that goes on a little nipple. You pour powder and you push a ball down in the cylinder, and that's your firing mechanism. So it's like the Colt 1851 was the most commonly used revolver during the American Civil War. It's a black powder weapon. By U.S. law, it's not considered a firearm because by the 1968 Gun Control Act, firearm is only something that fires a self-contained projectile. So if you look at a picture of like a 308 Winchester or whatnot, or 7.62 round for Europeans, 7.62 NATO, it's a self-contained cartridge. The bullets is on the top. There's a primer on the bottom. There's powder inside of the cartridge, the case. So that's a self-contained cartridge. In the U.S., if you just have a black powder weapon where you pour the powder and then you pour your ball down there, that's not a firearm by U.S. law. So even a felon,
it's not. Even though it's a gun, it's not actually a gun.
By U.S. law, you can literally ship them to your door, and you can have them shipped to your door. You can own one as a felon. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and we did test it, firing it out in the yard. It does fire, and it slightly wounded the pine tree. But in any case, so anyway, so yeah, basically, then I didn't have any real thing planned to give them, so I gave them a couple of tomatoes. Now I realize I was not the first person to give them tomatoes. They had actually been you've just been living on tomatoes the trip. No, I didn't stop the places.
We enjoyed the tomatoes though. So
and then afterwards, I guess, and then you guys left. You were going to take another trip, and I believe you asked for a recommendation on a restaurant. And so
we went to that restaurant.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yummy Bowl.
Yeah, it was really good.
He's never eaten sushi either.
Wow, so this was a learning experience.
Yeah, I eat hummus. I don't eat anything but hummus. So this is like the first time in years I've had like actual meals. But yeah, so we went to the place that you recommended. Made ourselves look like absolute morons because
everyone does there though, and that's okay.
That's the thing.
Well, I mean, at least I it's interesting because sitting there with Thaddeus, I'm showing him how to use chopsticks, like how the natives use it, and Thaddeus like, you don't eat anything but hummus. How do you know how to use chopsticks? So, but it was fun. So we leave.
How do you eat hummus with chopsticks?
Oh well, you can. It's fun actually. You take the little pita bread, you take the chopstick, and you take the pita bread, and you
just using the chopsticks like a butter knife then.
Yeah, basically. Well, no, you grab the little pita thing and you use the chopsticks holding the pita. And
I was just using him as a shish kebab, so he was trying to help me out.
But never had sushi, never had a burger before, and it's like, okay, well, food aside, food is part of these trips. Of course, who doesn't like food?
Of course.
Yeah, all sorts of good food when we were at the Vladika's, all the Russian stuff, the hachapuri. I could eat hachapuri every day. That stuff's pretty good. Give us all these crazy cheeses and whatnot. But yeah, so we drive from Wilkes-Barre after we left to visit you, and we were trying to get to Antiochian Village, which was like 4 hours away from.
Yeah, that's in Bolivar, Pennsylvania, I believe that is.
It's actually marked on the little map as just Antiochian Village. If you look in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It is literally just marked as Antiochian Village on the map, like the whole area.
Let me see if I can find it on the map. Hold on.
It's actually interesting, but we tried to get as close as possible. Then it was raining really, really hard, and we didn't want to risk getting to a horrible accident in Pennsylvania. So we stopped, got a hotel room. There was another one where Thaddeus was trying to explain to this guy who was like a little Hindu dude who had all these little idols sitting around. Okay. And he was trying to explain to this guy, like, oh, we only need one bed. He sleeps on the floor. And the guy...
Oh, no, not again.
The guy's like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah. The guy's like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. He's like, I don't believe you, sir. I don't believe you.
So the story begins and ends with the accusation of gayness. Okay.
Well, we're not at the. It keeps going after this.
Oh, it gets worse. Okay.
And of course, I'm sleeping, and this was a pretty shady hotel. There was a lookout there, but thankfully we didn't get
language. He said shady.
Shady.
Oh, shady. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty sketchy.
I'm a horrible person. Go ahead.
The workers that didn't work for the hotel, if you catch my drift, started walking up and saw that we were kind of straight edge and walked away. It was pretty funny.
But just in case, I slept with body armor and a gun on me, just in case.
Yeah, that's one thing I will say. Yeah, he did have body armor when he came to visit us here.
Yeah, which
which is kind of like sleeping with a guard dog armed to the teeth. So it's kind of safe. I kind of liked it.
don't ask about the body armor. I literally said the first thing I said when I walked in is don't ask. But don't ask about the body armor vest. So yeah, we leave that really bad hotel with the drug dealers. Maybe he was a nice guy, but he looked kind of sketchy. You're just saying maybe he wasn't a drug dealer, but it kind of looked like there's dealing of narcotics going on there. We're like an hour away from Antiochian Village. We leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning. We get to Antiochian Village. It's not open, but you can just kind of drive in.
It's a village. It's like literally like the streets and
it's like off season. It was very foggy, and we were stumbling around like morons trying to find the grave of Saint Raphael of Brooklyn.
It was a beautiful premises, actually. Very well maintained facilities. We got there a little too early. Everything was kind of closed. Found a rogue chatka on the ground, which was kind of interesting. I guess we kind of skipped over the last place we were at. They had graves where people. They had a husband died in this year, and then that's when the switch happened.
When the OCA broke communion with ROAC.
And then the wife died the next year. So like it was kind of interesting to see these graveyards of these older places that are now kind of occupied territory because you have people in different.
That's what Vladika called Jordanville. He said it's occupied territory.
Yeah.
But you have like couples, one buried in the church, one buried outside of the church, I guess.
Wow.
Right? Kind of interesting to see. We have a few pictures of that too. But yeah, so we're walking around this graveyard looking for Saint Raphael. I can't remember his name to save my life.
Halloweeny.
Yeah. And we see the picture online. It's a very beautiful gravesite. We can't find it at all. And some guy eventually walks up to investigate us, but in the rain. But yeah, we went and venerated his grave and got some dirt from his grave off the road. But it was a beautiful place.
Then from there, it's like, okay, we visited the relics of St. Raphael. We had a few other places that we wanted to stop at, but some of them canceled on us. Like we wanted to stop at Jonesboro, Arkansas to go to the GOC parish there, but they weren't open. A few other things got canceled as well.
It happens, but
So it's Saturday, and it's like, okay, it's 15 hours back to Louisiana.
Yeah, so we're just going to push it. Yeah,
and we wanted to attend the Divine Liturgy, so it's like, okay,
and so we're pushing it, we're booking it. When we get around Knoxville, Tennessee, and we're talking, and I'm not really noticing the signs. Well, the gas light comes on, and I'm like, how long has this been on? It's been on. I had just noticed it, so I'm like, immediately I pull up my GPS. I'm like, nearest gas station. I'm not even noticing where we are. Well, we get off the interstate and we're back on Gay Street. And I'm like, are you serious? We couldn't have planned this and tried. Like, this is surreal. So we have pictures of Gay Street twice.
So we left Pennsylvania and we were just booking it back to Louisiana. We're like, okay, we want to go to the Divine Liturgy in the morning. We got nowhere else to be. Let's just get back to Louisiana. So, we did that drive. It was actually over 15 hours. It was like 16, 17 hours.
Did you guys stop to eat, or you just survived on tomatoes and plus? And
the monastery gave us some food too. They had a bag of dry food, I guess.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, when we left St. John's, Father Innocent gave us a bag full of dry food, so we just kind of ate that on the way. We did stop at a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
We got that.
Yep.
For anyone that lives.
Oh, we went to the mall, yeah, and Sava had his trench coat, his cane, and all the whole thing, and the kids were taking pictures.
Sava was a tourist attraction to someone else.
Yeah. So there's probably pictures like this is this weird guy walking around this mall in Tennessee, and Johnson City, Tennessee. There's this weird guy walking around with a trench coat, body armor.
They're like, take a picture. It'll probably be on the news later.
Yeah. I just wanted some Chick-fil-A. That's all I wanted. Chick-fil-A is good. Anyone that hasn't had it, if you live in the U.S. or come to the U.S., you have to try Chick-fil-A. It's pretty good.
Chick-fil-A. Well, my wife and I are divided on Chick-fil-A, but I personally love the stuff. But
Well, in the South, especially, there's Chick-fil-A's all over the place. It's pretty good.
Well, I
It's
remember.
a Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A thing. It's all started with the whole sandwich thing, and
Yeah,
it's, my
if you
family
were-
is divided on it.
And if you recall, the Great War of 2020 started when people were saying Popeyes or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
That was the buzz going around when everything kicked off. So I blame Chick-fil-A. I mean, Chick-fil-A did it.
Could have been Popeye's fault. Anyway.
But, yeah, so we're just trying to drive back to Louisiana. We get back to Louisiana.
South Padre Tony, I'm sorry. Every time I mention Chick-fil-A, churches, chicken.
No, not churches.
I have churches. I like churches.
It's good, but
it's not around me.
False on chicken. It's,
It's
See,
nasty.
the war still goes on. We're gonna cause it again. All right.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying Chick-fil-A all the way. We stopped Chick-fil-A on the way up. We stopped at Chick-fil-A on the way down.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's not up for debate.
Chick-fil-A whoop whoop.
Well, I might show up to your house with a body armor and a gun
As a gift.
as a gift. Just to let you know how much you should really choose Chick-fil-A. Tell you, Mom. Thaddeus will get up in your face with a camera and aviators on.
If I knew we had a Chick-fil-A near us, I could have just directed you there.
Yeah.
And Thaddeus will get this big camera and aviators because the guy at Jordanville that had the camera, he also had aviators on, kind of like me. And Thaddeus will get up in your face with a camera and just not say anything. That's what we're gonna do if you say that Chick-fil-A isn't amazing. But
So let the comments begin, I guess.
yeah, this is what the debate's gonna just be in the comments about whether or not Chick-fil-A or Popeyes or any of these other inferior
We'll see.
chicken joints are better.
I think it's such a minor detail to this large story. So,
But yeah, where we at? Okay, yeah, we've venerated the relics of Saint Raphael. I'm sure his prayers got us through the road because it was
got
a
you back
very
to
long
Gay
drive.
Street.
Yeah, well, I think that was just a say farewell to Gay Street.
Goodbye, Gay Street. Yeah, so.
We had lots of fun memories and pictures at Gay Street.
For new listeners, that's not all they saw. Please go to the beginning.
I mean, I will just say Gay Street was pretty gay.
It ended as it began.
Yeah.
So you made it back to Louis. Did you make it on time for Divine Liturgy?
Yes.
We did. We made it about 11:30, midnight 30. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 11:30. We made it back to Louisiana. I was exhausted. We just kind of brought all these clothes. When I was talking about at the pond at St. John's, I was kind of waiting the water, cleaning all the algae. I just threw those clothes in the back of my truck. I never washed them, and it apparently caused like a biological hazard.
Yeah, there was a hazard situation. Yeah.
So speaking of the Chick-fil-A debate and how that like started the whole thing with COVID, there's probably also another thing that started with Sava's pond clothes. So there's probably some plague on the way.
Patient zero. Yeah.
Yeah. So it started with a debate. It's going to end with another plague, and I'm patient zero. So yeah.
Well, they're trying to plan one, so you're now the excuse.
Sava's pond clothes started it all. That's
a man in Louisiana.
Louisiana man, alligator. But there's also a picture of me with like dirt and that stuff all over my face. Apparently not a very clean person, as I've been told. But yeah, so we made it back to Louisiana. It's like 11:30 at night. I'm exhausted. I just fall asleep. I just pass out on Thaddeus' floor. I'm just so exhausted.
Yeah, we woke up, went to liturgy. Very grateful to be back home. Yeah, at our church. Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the comments, and we're going to go through those. There's the hellos.
And one detail he did leave out when we pulled back in to Vladika Andronik's monastery.
Okay.
Oh no.
He witnessed us having a yelling match that was cured by Kavas of whether or not the earth is flat or round. And I'm trying to tell him it's round. He thinks he's thinking it's flat. I don't know.
I brought that up in the house afterwards, and one person pointed out, that pilots, when there's a lot of pilots who, after their years of experience, are convinced the Earth is flat too. So I don't even know what to think. I always thought that they would be the ones who think it's round.
See, it might be flat. I'll humble myself.
I have no idea.
I'm messing around. He doesn't think it's flat. I'm just playing around. It was funny. The bishop walked up on us, and we were like yelling
About flat
about
Earth.
nonsense.
It's an argument that's like I guess sometimes worth having. It's
Okay,
we will probably cover it on a show.
I will about Thaddeus. Thaddeus
All
says
right.
that he believes in flat Earth, but he doesn't. But then he says that he does, and he just tries to get a rise out of me by constantly bringing it up. Well,
I see.
he's very good.
You brought it up here. I know that.
Yeah, he likes bringing up flat Earth. It's like the. I think the method. It's like the. What was that? There's this skit from Whitest Kids, where the guy just brings up like the topic that just clears a room. You're just trying to clear the room, trying to get everyone's attention. Like, what's the weirdest thing I can bring up? Flat Earth.
Nasa means lie in Hebrew. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
All right,
we're listening Father Joseph's channel now.
All right. So somebody asked, do you think the revolutions are led by Freemasons? I mean, such as the French, American, and Russian revolutions? Yes.
Yes.
That was, I think, let's see. I think that was it. Got a thumbs up. The interaction at St. John's is one hell of a story from what Brother Sava told me. It was quite a story. So let me think here, and we got better late than never. And I guess that's kind of accurate.
Well, I'm wearing a shaykacha, and I do kind of look like a chetnik. For anyone that hasn't seen what I look like, I have long hair, long beard.
I thought he looked kind of like Post Malone without the face tattoos.
I was very offended when you said that.
Yeah, I brought it up to my wife, and she was like, "I told you."
Before
he's
we
famous,
left,
so it's not bad.
Well,
right.
Before we left, Thaddeus's wife, she's like, "Oh, you guys are gonna probably get on each other's nerves." Thaddeus thinks I did. I probably got on his nerves by and it's like, "Oh yeah, you guys are gonna have to talk about your feelings." I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna talk about my feelings, all right."
Yeah, so
I wonder how that's gonna look.
We talked about our feelings with flat Earth.
Yeah, we had a long, great talk about our feelings and flat Earth, which was cured by kvass, medicinal kvass.
I'm gonna just put it if anyone has any questions for you guys about the trip. So it kind of as we covered, you went to quite a few places. You went to the bishop's residence for ROAC in Elmwood Park, New Jersey. You visited the Abbey of the Holy Name. You visited Mountain View repeatedly to get kvass.
Yeah.
You visited St. John's Monastery in Cobleskill, New York, and you were kind of not welcome at St. Tikhon, but you made it to Antiochian Village to venerate the relics of St. Raphael.
Jordanville.
You went to the trip to Jordanville. That was definitely. I'm probably going to make a clip just out of the trip to Jordanville.
Novo Dievo,
Bearsville.
Bearsville. Yeah, you went to a lot of
these places.
Oh yeah.
A lot of these places weren't planned. Like we weren't really planning on going to the Abbey of the Holy Name. That was just kind of an on the fly thing.
But you got to venerate relics, and you got to see the church, and
I got to meet Metropolitan John. Very nice man. Mm-hmm. Very nice man.
I think, and Bishop Enoch, I think he's also a nice person, but he was just in pain and was kind of shocked, and anyway. Yeah. I'm sure you go next time, he'll probably come down.
Yeah. But it was a very, very good trip.
Very edifying.
You saw lots of holy relics and lots of great spiritual places.
I do have some advice. If anyone wants to go to Jordanville, don't bring a true Orthodox bishop along with you.
Or do.
Yeah, right.
Or do. If you want the VIP experience. Want the VIP experience.
Yadish Vaswani asks, what's the story about the nun buried in Sleepy Hollow?
Pelagia Mariana. She was one of the. If we were talking about the video, I don't know if the video is still up, but there's this video where they throw these two nuns out of the Novo Dievo convents because they refused to accept the MP union in 2007. Right. They were Vladika Andrei's nuns. They joined ROAC, and they threw them out. They treated them horribly.
Well, they harassed them for years.
Yeah, I don't want to spread rumors, but there was a certain person who propositioned one of the nuns.
Wow, that's disgusting.
They took the bathroom door off the hinges.
They locked the cabinets. They locked the fridge.
Yeah, they did
padlocks.
but they refused to leave. They were confessors to the end, and then they
They actually took them to court to try to defrock them, as if you could defrock them and
You
ask.
can't defrock them in court. That's just no. That's crazy. That's
so-
absolutely crazy.
One of the nuns is buried at Novo di Vievo. She died not long after that video came out where they threw them out of the monastery or the convent. But the other one, they refuse to yeah, we didn't drop your name that much, Father Mark. We don't worry about
We'll do that now.
it. Throw your name out there. Yeah, he's embarrassed. It's like, oh, these two morons are representing me out there.
But yeah, the nun in Sleepy Hollow, she was actually homeless, and a cop took her in, feeling sorry for her. Found her on the bench crying.
And they refused to let her.
Elderly.
They refused to let her be buried at Novo di Vievo. So the Sleepy Hollow cemetery is like a public cemetery. They just bury
it's a city cemetery.
Yeah. So she's buried out there. There's a nice little cross to her, and we did a panahiti for her. But yeah, it's absolutely tragic what happened to those two nuns. And yeah, when people say like, oh, this issue with True Orthodoxy and World Orthodoxy, it's just this little debate.
Academic thing. Yeah, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
No,
and I'm new to all this. It's not.
Yeah.
I can promise you, it's
Yeah,
not.
they're like trying to, they're doing these horrible things to our nuns here in the U.S. We're not even talking about something that happened in Russia. I mean, the people here might be familiar with some of the stories of ROAC in Russia, the horrible things they do there. Throw Molotovs or convents.
And the stuff is tied together. A lot of people don't realize everyone kind of knows each other in this. And this is, it's I can't stress enough. One of the things that happened when the 2001 separation happened with Metropolitan Italy, they tried to lock him in the Synod building. And it was actually Metropolitan Valentino Suzel who was visiting Elmwood Park, where you went. He was actually staying at the Shishkov's residence, and he heard about this. So he's like, come on. And so him and Father Vladimir literally went over to get Metropolitan Italy out of the building.
Yep.
So, that's kind of like, how connected everything really is. And so you kind of got to see part of that.
But yeah, Novo di Vievo, that's the story of the two nuns there. That video, I think, is still around. I saw it a few years ago. There's an article about it on Father Joseph's website on an FTU. But yeah, that's the story. They threw this nun out of there, and she was homeless. And again, a police officer took her in just because he felt horrible, and they refused to let her be buried at Novo di Vievo. So
that's such a shame.
That's the story. It's seeing that it's like, oh yeah, these Vladika said, after the Anschluss, that's what he calls the MP union, the Anschluss. Said Jordanville is occupied territory. It's like, yeah, we're seeing these people and they're treating us pretty poorly. I mean, no statement about.
Yeah, you just showed up.
Yeah, no statement about these peoples as people. I mean, but yeah,
and they have friends elsewhere, so it's not like
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, they're acting like thugs. I'm not saying they're thugs, but they act like them.
Well, the actually monk is probably my favorite part of the Jordanville story.
Yeah, and then the guy is like,
everyone buried here, died against the Union. I was like, oof. He just.
And then he said the men and women buried around here died believing that the MP was wrong to join with.
And then that was just slinked away because that's the truth. And he was like, he just has to slink away in shame. So,
but yeah, there was a.
The guy was going off about 70 years of darkness, this, that, and the other.
What?
He was using that prophecy of St. John the Kronstadt to refer to Rocor not being in communion with the MP. Like, that's the 70 years of darkness.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. Said that. Yeah,
that's what he was trying to say. Because there's all these young people, and we mentioned at the beginning, all these young people, they didn't know who Vladika Andrei was.
Yeah.
And of course, one of them, like the guy with the camera, the cameraman with the sunglasses, he was like telling one of the. He pulled one of these young people aside and it's like, kind of whispering to him, and we see him like point over at us, and it's like, oh, okay. He's telling them,
Raskolniki.
Yeah, Raskolniki. Yeah, Raskolniki over there. Don't deal with that guy. But yeah, so yeah, it's tragic seeing what happened to these places, Jordanville and all these other
places. But you also got to see like places with a lot of great hope, like with Mountain View and with Kobelskill. Where you got to see Orthodoxy in action still. It's like it didn't take this whole the whole union thing and the attempts at union, and True Orthodox continue to survive, and you got to see a part of that. I'm sad that you went through New York City and didn't get a chance to see the churches in Astoria, but that would have been an experience all on its own.
Yeah, we got to go back, basically. I mean,
and if you ever go to Boston, well, I'll just say, if you thought the driving in New York was bad, just wait. Just wait.
We're flying up to Boston. I don't even want to deal with that.
Taking buses, that's not a bad idea, actually.
But yeah, with the trip, one thing that I will say is, we visit all these big monasteries and whatnot. Of course, I know you make a point of this, Father Joseph. You always tell people, well, you're not going to be worshiping in a basement. You could you'll be worshiping in actual churches to go to True Orthodoxy, and that's true.
Well, there are also basements. And technically, Vladika Andre's church is in the basement. Yeah. Now, granted,
I tell people it's like, it's the same thing though. It's the same thing. You're worshiping in the basement. You're worshiping in this giant basilica like St. John's. It's the same thing. It's still actual Orthodoxy.
Well, you saw my chapel.
Yeah,
it's small.
Yeah, but it's like I tell people, it's like, it doesn't matter if you have these big churches. Not yes, they stole Jordanville from us. They stole Nova de Viejo from us. They stole all these places from us. But it doesn't matter. We do have some big churches. We have small churches. One thing I'll say, especially, give a credit to Father Mark here, who's hopefully still in the chat. Hello, Father. Father bless. Definitely this trip gave us a very good appreciation of what we have here in Louisiana. Because we don't have the graveyards, we don't have the connection, we don't have the Russians, we don't have, we don't have any of these things. Louisiana is it's a big swamp for one, and no one here is. We have one cradle-born Orthodox person in our entire parish, but we have
besides the kids.
Yeah, besides the children.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me especially in ROAC. I mean, there are actual lots of catacomb communities that remain from even after the Soviet Union fell. So
2/3 of our parishes are still in the catacombs, and then that level that Vladimir Moss wrote in '98, he said there's like over 300 catacomb parishes.
Yeah, there are a lot of them still.
There's probably still pretty close to that, like 200, 150.
Yeah, well, some of them eventually come out of the underground, but the point is that the fear is still there because the state authorities are still doing things.
Yep.
I mean, it's a painful feeling for me personally. I've said this a million times that the church I used to go to in Suzdal that I was so amazed by with hundreds of worshipers has been closed and turned into a tourist center by the MP. It's horrible. But what are you going to do?
But this trip definitely gave us a great appreciation of what we have, because yes, we don't have the cemeteries. The cemeteries are so important. People aren't familiar. In Russia, they don't see cemeteries as being these gloomy, dark places. Because back in the day, people used to actually believe in the resurrection. Nowadays, they probably see them as gloomy, dark places. But
not really. They have chapels in the cemetery. So, like at the grave of Saint Senya, there's a church there. I took rocks from that area, and there's other martyrs and people like Saint Maria of Gatchina in these cemeteries. So it's hard because even if they are municipal cemeteries, it's kind of amazing, but there are saints in them, and so it's kind of just an amazing feeling. It's different in Russia, but it'll get there, here by God's grace eventually. I mean, we have an elder in New Jersey graveyard, so
it gave us a great appreciation. We have, yes, we're a little mission church. We don't have giant church, none of that. But yeah, we're here trying to do our best. Not doing a very good job at it. I'm just a lowly reader. I'm not doing a great job at that either. But
it's okay.
No
one starts out an expert.
Well, have as many concussions I have. Like barely, most of the people down here in Louisiana, including myself, we can barely speak English, let alone learn Russian and any of this other stuff. Yeah. But it's definitely great to be back in Louisiana, and we want to take more trips. We want to go back up to the New York, New Jersey area. Maybe the ticket will catch up with me there. Who knows?
It might.
Maybe be hidden. Have Thaddeus drive. Also, there's another. Oh yeah, we went on one of those toll roads, and I don't think I ever paid that toll.
That's about 4 tolls.
Yeah, I'd probably wait till New York gets a little better. It's going through a bit of a dark phase right now.
Wait, New York was good before?
I was about 12 to 13 years ago. It was actually not terrible. It's pretty. Yeah, it's much more terrible now than it was. It's almost like at the level of the 70s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But we're glad to be back in Louisiana. It was very good. And no, Father, we didn't throw your name out there so we can everyone be like, oh, look at these two morons.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, my name's not going to help you anywhere.
Who knows? Maybe they heard that. Well, I mean, we brought up his name to Father Theologos.
In Cobble School, they know who I am because they remember me from HTM. I stayed there for a couple of months.
And of course, Father Theologos is from Louisiana, so he was very interested to hear how Father Mark was doing. But yes, but
it's a small world. I'm telling you, it's a pretty small world.
Yeah, right. It was very interesting. Yeah, seeing that small world, seeing the these debates. Would probably think they stick to being online, but they actually do matter in person. These are real things, real things amongst jurisdictions. And the history's real, and it's still felt, and it's not all gone. There's still, there's still people holding
quite a lot. There's so much out there, and you guys had one trip, and that was. Imagine if you had seen all the places you want to go, and that's not even close to the places there are.
Right.
That's just in the Northeast.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna do another trip to the Northeast sometime, hopefully. And of course, there's other places that we want to visit. HTM in Boston. We're talking about Tisha's in the chat. He's talking about coming to the U.S. next year, and we're gonna drive up to Detroit or Michigan to go visit Father Stephen Allen. Mm-hmm. Basically, right now, after coming back from this trip, it's like, wow, I want to take more trips.
Yeah.
Now I want to take a trip every month to go visit some True Orthodox people somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know that that's feasible, but I mean, Father Mark points out we're much nicer to each other than the World Orthodox right now. That's true. That's kind of true.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, the World Orthodox weren't very nice to us, but
that's still a shock.
If they were
dumbfounded by Jordanville,
if they're a little bit nicer to each other than they are to us, then I guess it's fine. But and the Saint Econs people weren't rude. It's just I don't think they trusted.
They didn't trust you because of your outfit.
Yeah, then the Jordanville, they weren't explicitly rude. But it's like someone told me before, some of these monks, they have passive aggression down to a science. And so I kind of learned some tactics, right? I mean,
take it as a learning experience.
Yeah. So if you want to intimidate people, make them feel unwelcome, you get right up in their face with a big giant camera.
Don't say anything.
You don't say anything. You just sit there.
Just have the camera waiting.
And they have sunglasses on, so you look like a Secret Service agent.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a Secret Service. It really did at first. I mean, we were surrounded on 4 points by 4 different people, weren't saying a thing.
I mean, also,
and, I've been in bad neighborhoods before. I'm kind of like, is this going down here? What is going on, dude?
Well, I mean, to be fair, it looked like we were Vladika's bodyguards. We were like standing on the other side.
We effectively were.
Yeah, we effectively were. Did he even joke something along the lines like, "I'm glad I have these"? Glad I have you here. He said something along the lines. I'm glad you both of you are here. I'm flanked by my readers in case we get attacked. Get attacked by someone, but. Yeah.
And it was cool to see him handle it, like a veteran, just with complete kindness.
He's so used to this
humility.
Stuff,
yeah.
Very calm. It's just like, he's like cracking jokes as they're trying to lock us in the bookstore.
Such a trick.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he gets his beard stuck on a piece of tape. It's like, well, every bishop has to Jordanville Gestapo. Yeah, more like the Cheka, but yeah, maybe closer to the Cheka than Gestapo, but same difference maybe. Who knows? But
well, okay. I want to say first off, thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Oh, no problem.
I think a lot of people are going to be edified by it. I'm hoping so. And I am, grateful to hear it. I was so glad to have you guys over when you visited me. And thank you again for the gift. And again, thanks to everyone listening. Thanks to everyone who commented, everyone who had kind words and questions. And so in any case, thank you all for being here. And you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm glad to see. Thank God that you made it home safely. And enjoy the rest of the day, and back to, I guess, once the pilgrimage is over, it's back to normal, boring life.
That's right. Being dragged, kicking and screaming, back to work.
Thank you guys for being here. God
Thank
bless
you.
you
Thank
both,
you for
and
having
you
us.
have a great day. And thank
You
you all
too.
for
You too.
listening. Bye now.
Bye-bye.